Yasodanandana Brajananda Yasoda Jamunatira Jamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare
Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Mahaprabhupada AC Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada Ram Singh Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopika Shama Kunda Radha Kuri Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Vyang Jamuna Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Gop Premanandi all glories to some of the bhaktis, all glories to some of the bodies, all glories to some of the bodies, all glories to Sri Guru Sri Guranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Buddhade Shrimade Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastatchare Shatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 52, verse 25. Bandhunam chatam datam Krishnaya Bhaginim Ripa Tatoni Varya Krishna Dvid Rukmini Chaidyam Amanyata Bandhunam, her family members, Nichatam, even as they were desiring, Datam, to give, Krishnaya, to Krishna, Bhaginim, their sister, Nrpa, O king, Tata, from this, Nivarya, preventing them, Krishnadvit, hateful of Krishna, or Rukmini Chadyam Shishupala Amanyata, considered. Translation, O king, because Rukmini envied the Lord, he forbade his family members to give a sister to Krishna, although they wanted to. Instead, Rukmini decided to give Rukmini to Shishupala. Report. Rukmini abused his position as elder brother and acted with impure motives. He would only suffer for his decision. Dark-eyed Vaidarbi was aware of this plan and it deeply upset her. Analyzing the situation, she quickly sent a trustworthy Brahmana to Krishna. Upon reaching Dwarka, the Brahmana was brought inside by the gatekeepers and saw the primeval personality of Godhead sitting on a golden throne. Seeing the Brahmana, Sri Krishna, Lord of the Brahmanas, came down from his throne and seated him. Then the Lord worshipped him, just as he himself is worshipped by the demigods. After the Brahmana had eaten and rested, Sri Krishna, the goal of saintly devotees, came forward, and while massaging the Brahman's feet with his own hands, he patiently questioned as follows. The Supreme Lord said, O best of exalted Brahmanas, are your religious practices sanctioned by senior authorities, proceeding without great difficulty? Is your mind always fully satisfied? Report, here we have translated the word dharma as religious practice, although this does not fully convey the Sanskrit sense of the word. Krishna did not appear within a secular society. The people in Vedic times could hardly imagine a society that did not understand the need to obey God's law. Thus, to them, the word dharma conveyed a sense of duty in general, higher principles, prescribed duty, and so on. It was automatically understood that such duties were within a religious context, but religion in those days was not a specific aspect or department of life, rather a guiding light for all activities. Here, religious life was considered demoniac, and God's hand was seen in everything. When a Brahmana is satisfied with whatever comes his way and does not fall away from his religious duties, those very religious principles become his desire cow, fulfilling all his wishes. An unsatisfied Brahmana wanders restlessly from one planet to another, even if he becomes king of heaven. A satisfied Brahmana, though he may possess nothing, rests peacefully, all his limbs free of distress. But those who are unsatisfied feel distress throughout their body, become subject to many diseases. A satisfied Brahmana, however, though he may possess nothing, is peaceful and calm, and there is no distress within his body or mind. I repeatedly bow my head in respect to those Brahmanas who are satisfied with their lot. Saintly, prideless, and peaceful, they are the best well-wishers of all living beings. Sridhar Swami explains that Swalabha also means achieving oneself, or in other words, self-realization. Thus, an advanced Brahmana is always satisfied with his spiritual understanding, never depending on material formalities or facilities. O Brahmana, is your king attending to your welfare? Indeed, that king in whose country the citizens are happy and protected is very dear to me. Whence have you come, crossing the impassable sea, and for what purpose? Explain all this to us if it is not a secret, and tell us what we may do for you. Thus questioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who incarnates to perform his pastimes, the Brahmana told him everything. Report, the word grihita may be translated as grasped or caught, and thus exactly as in English may also mean to perceive or understand something. Therefore, Lord Krishna's transcendental body is perceived, understood, or in other words, grasped by the devotees when the Lord comes to exhibit his transcendental pastimes. These pastimes are not whimsical, but a part of the complex program structured and executed by the Lord himself for awakening the conditioned souls to their natural love and devotion for him and bringing them back to Godhead. Sri Rukmini said in her letter, as read by the Brahmana, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna. Purport, Rukmini was the king's daughter, courageous and bold, and furthermore she would rather die than lose Krishna. Considering all this, she wrote a frank, explicit letter begging Krishna to come and take her away. O Mukunda, you are equal only to yourself in lineage, character, beauty, knowledge, youthfulness, wealth, and influence. O lion among men, you delight the minds of all mankind. What aristocratic, sober-minded, and marriageable girl of a good family would not choose you as her husband when the proper time has come? Therefore, my lord, I have chosen you as my husband, and I surrender myself to you. Please come swiftly, O Almighty One, and make me your wife, my dear lotus-eyed lord. That Shishupala never touched the hero's portion like a jackal stealing the property of a lion. If I have sufficiently worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead by pious works, sacrifices, charity, rituals, and vows, and also by worshipping the demigods, brahmanas, and gurus, then may Gadagraja come and take my hand, and not Damagosha's son or anyone else. Purport: the Acharya's comment as follows on this verse. Rukmini felt that no one could obtain Lord Krishna by the efforts of a single lifetime. Therefore, she earnestly pointed out the pious activities she had performed in that life and previous lives, hoping to convince Sri Krishna to come. Oh, unconquerable one, tomorrow when my marriage ceremony is about to begin, you should arrive unseen in Vidarbha and surround yourself with the leaders of your army. Then crush the forces of Chaitya and Magadendra and marry me in the Rakshasa style, winning me with your valor. Purport: as Srila Prabhupada points out in Krishna's Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rukmini, being born of royal blood, certainly had a brilliant grasp of political affairs. She advised Krishna to enter the city alone and unnoticed, and then surround himself with his military commanders so he could do what was needed. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti compares the coming fight to the Lord's churning of the ocean to extract the goddess Lakshmi. Gorgeous Rukmini, the goddess of fortune, would be gained in the coming turbulence. So here we find the actions of Rukmini. The previous verses indicated how she had decided that she wanted Krishna as her husband, and then we are informed that her brother wanted to marry her off to Shishupala, even though father and others didn't want that. Nevertheless, Rukmini, the brother, forced the issue. So under those circumstances, Rukmini wrote a letter to Krishna to be delivered by a brahmana. So those events are described here, how the brahmana came. And Krishna welcomed the brahmana, and we see that in Dwarka he was sitting on a big throne, so he was actually like the king and regarded as such, but he was also the Supreme Lord. But as is customary for a good king, he was obedient to the brahmanas. So immediately he got off his throne and he welcomed the brahmana and he massaged his feet, etc. He welcomed him there, he fed him, etc. So he took care of the brahmana very well, and he began praising the brahmana. And then finally he asked what the message was. And then the brahmana delivered the message of Rukmini, who praised Krishna as the most beautiful and having all wonderful qualities, and therefore she became attracted to him, not by seeing but simply having heard of his wonderful qualities. And so she proposed that Krishna come and take her away in the Rakshasa style. That means though there was opposition, he would overcome that opposition and take Rukmini. So that is later described, how Krishna came there and put Rukmini on the chariot and then drove her away, and he had to fight with the various opponents in the process. So as mentioned previously, there are various types of marriage, and this is one of them, which is obviously one that the Kshatriyas indulge in, and we'll see many examples of that in Mahabharata as well. And it serves a purpose also to attest the valor of the person, the groom, the one who's the strongest is the one who is most worthy to marry the bride. Of course, we have other, the Swayamvara there is where the bride is allowed to choose, but generally we see here that many of these ceremonies had a test, and the most skillful person was the one who was able to marry the bride. And of course Krishna went through many tests, and he actually was able to defeat everyone else in contests and win the various queens. So all of these were a display of the power of Krishna. So, of course, power is not the only qualification. Now, Kshatriyas, of course, that's one of their qualities, that they are always ready to fight and protect, etc. So it's one quality. But that quality has to be balanced with other qualities as well. So therefore, it's explained that the real Kshatriya is not simply in Rajagun, very passionate and trying to control everybody. Rather, he's a mixture of Rajagun and Sattvagun. So the Sattvagun portion is there to put some control over the passion. So it's not just power and control, but rather there is some wisdom and some peace of mind also in the ideal Kshatriya. So Sattva means that the person is willing to listen to scriptures. He's obedient to the Brahmanas, who are more knowledgeable of scripture. He can control his senses. He has a sense of not being the body, and there's a higher purpose in life. And he has a sense of detachment. A person in the mode of passion is not detached at all, very attached. A person in sattva is detached. So the ideal Kshatriya is not completely attached. He has a sense of detachment as well. So yes, the attachment aspect is there, and therefore the kings were allowed to enjoy in many ways, and they had wealth and whatever. But at the same time, the detachment is there so that they're willing to give up things and sacrifice things and to spend money on the citizens to protect them. If they're completely attached, they will be not interested in anyone except themselves. So the ideal king has to have some detachment so that he uses his power properly and does not hoard the wealth for himself, but distributes it among the citizens in a proper way. So from a material point of view, that's very good. A person should not be overly greedy, and he has to balance that out with compassion and equipoise and sense control, etc. Of course, in the case of Krishna, he's not just a Kshatriya. He's also the Supreme Lord. So we should not think that he is simply acting according to Kshatriya principles. He's actually Supreme Lord, and he's playing this role of doing things according to what a Kshatriya should do. But actually he's transcendental to the modes completely. He is not sattvic or rajasic or a mixture of the two. So he has no material attachments to anything, even though he's sitting on the throne here. He has no attachment in that way. And he is also not simply detached like a Brahmana who understands he's the soul, he's not the body, etc., and wants to renounce everything. So Krishna is neither attached nor detached. He's neither one nor the other. He's actually simply involved in bliss at all times with his devotees. However, from our perspective, then this would mean detachment from material things. But at the same time, to a materialist, it will look as if he's also attached. Why does he respond to Rukmini? Just as a king would eagerly take the opportunity to marry a beautiful woman, so why Krishna also, in the same way, is attracted to Rukmini when she makes this plea through the Brahmana. That means he has desire, but he should be detached. So, of course, he is playing the role of a king, but more importantly, he is actually Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord is completely different, but he may appear like a material person. That is, he has desire, but it is not material desire. It looks very similar. So a king attached to a beautiful woman looks material. Krishna is attached to Rukmini, but it's not. It looks the same, but it's different. Why is that? So of course, because he is the Supreme Lord, and his attachment is not based upon material features. He becomes attracted to Rukmini because her qualities and her very form are spiritual. And they are simply a manifestation of her devotion to the Lord. So in the material world, qualities and beauty are not a manifestation of devotion. They're a manifestation of your karma, and they're all material. So Rukmini actually has a spiritual body, an eternal spiritual body, with eternal spiritual qualities. So it's quite different. And as we have explained already, she's also eternally the consort of the Lord. She is eternally related to him in a loving relationship. She is the eternal devotee, and Krishna is the eternal master, the husband. So therefore, it's quite different from material affairs. But within pastimes, then we will see some development. So first of all, Krishna is not married in Dwarka, Mathura or Dwarka, and then he gets married. And this is the first queen he gets married to. And we will see the attraction of Rukmini to Krishna and the attraction of Krishna to Rukmini, and they both have wonderful qualities. And then finally, according to material dharma and kshatriya laws, etc., then he takes her away on the chariot in Rakshasa style. Yeah, so it looks like material, but actually it is spiritual. It is pastime of the Lord because it's a relation between Krishna and his devotees. So we should never identify these pastimes with material forms and material qualities and material desires. When the Lord does these things, it's an expression of his bliss. Everything is an expression of his bliss. So the essential quality of the Lord is bliss. And that is manifested spontaneously, because that's his nature. So that bliss is manifested through rasa. And rasa requires two persons, not one person. So Krishna cannot be there and be blissful with rasa because there's only himself. So therefore, there is devotee and Supreme Lord. So that is why there are jivas, nityasiddha jivas, or sadhana-siddha jivas, and the Lord. That is why there is consorts of the Lord. So the consorts and the Supreme Lord express this, the duality of the Lord for rasa. So through this combination of Krishna and his consort, then there is rasa, and then the Lord's bliss becomes manifested. So it is, we can say, natural to the Lord to manifest the consorts and then to perform pastimes, and through the pastimes get rasa, and through the rasa get the bliss. So of course rasa means this relationship, our affection, but it is not just an affectionate relationship, which is static. The sthayi bhava is the affectionate relationship. But it doesn't exist by itself. We have personalities involved, and they are always doing activities. And they're speaking, they're doing things, they're expressing themselves in various ways. So this produces pastimes. There is action and speech of one person, but the other person does actions and speech in reply. So there's always some interaction between the Lord and his devotees. This gives rise to the rasa. There is an affectionate relationship, plus there's an interchange between the devotee and the Supreme Lord. And this produces the great taste within that relationship, which has its counterpart in the material world. Material world is not just love. The love is expressed in different ways, in different actions, through a sequence in time. And this creates the taste in the loving affair. So similarly with Krishna, the rasa is produced by pastimes, in which the devotee and the Lord interact. So here we have Supreme Lord and his eternal consort interacting. This is the beginning of their interaction. So we see later on, of course, when they are married, then there's interaction also. But this is the beginning stage of the interaction, the beginning stage of the love affair, and then the beginning stage of the interaction. They have not met yet. And it's only when Krishna comes to the capital city of Rukmini, and then when she's there, then he sees her, and she sees him. They haven't even met yet. So this is all preliminary. But there's an expression of the great attachment already, which is understandable because actually they're eternally related. But as part of the pastime, we find as Rukmini grows up, then finally she develops this love through hearing, and then we have finally the meeting taking place as part of the pastime. So in this way, we get a presentation of the development of their loving affair, and then we find that Krishna finally takes her away and he marries her. And even after the marriage, then there is pastimes again within the marriage. So here is the beginning stages where Rukmini expresses her love in this particular letter. And then appropriately, Krishna should somehow respond to this. And now if he doesn't respond, then there is a problem for Rukmini, because then she's caught. She has to marry Shishupala, which she doesn't like. And at the same time, she's wondering why the Lord doesn't like her, and she becomes worried, etc. So, of course, Krishna didn't do that, but the Brahmana came late, so to speak, and so she got in great anxiety, she began to doubt, etc. This again is part of the pastimes, and it increases we can say, the taste within the rasa, because of the various events that take place. So this adds some excitement to their relationship. So here she expresses in the letter, she expresses her firm determination to take Krishna, only Krishna, as her husband. So not all devotees have Madhurya Rasa, but nevertheless they also develop a firm conviction to serve the Lord and nobody else. So just as she says, only Krishna and nobody else, so the devotees also decide to worship the Lord and nobody else. So in fact, in sadhana bhakti, the whole process is to develop affection for the Lord and ani abhilasha shunya, no other desire. We shouldn't have a desire for anybody else or anything else. So we don't have a desire for Svargaloka or liberation or material assets, and we don't have a desire for anybody in this material world. So only the Supreme Lord. So we don't have a desire even to worship devatas or whatnot. Only Supreme Lord. So that is called Ananya bhakti. Bhakti with no other object except the Supreme Lord. No other object of love, no other object of attachment. So Rukmini expresses that by her determination to marry Krishna and nobody else. She doesn't want to devote herself to anyone else. So in sadhana bhakti, the devotee also has to have a quite similar type of conviction to dedicate himself to the Supreme Lord and to nobody else. And within our sampradaya, we dedicate ourselves to Krishna and nobody else. So now there are different sampradayas, and in other sampradayas, the only way they can dedicate themselves is to be the servant. So it's a dasya type of relationship in which we serve the Lord. And they can perfect themselves in that way. They dedicate themselves only to the Lord, and they try to be their servant forever. And we see great examples of that. So Hanuman is a great example of that, a very famous example. Garuda, of course, is a famous example as well. So they're both serving the Lord with exclusive devotion, and no other thought at all, only service to the Lord. However, within the Gaudiya Sampradaya, then we do have some choice of how we want to serve the Lord, not only as a servant, but we can do it as a friend, or we can do it as a parent, or we can even do it as a lover, as Rukmini is doing here. So there's a little bit more variety of the way in which we can serve the Lord with Krishna. So this, of course, is one aspect of Krishna, that we can serve in a variety of ways, which is unique to Krishna and not there in the others. So in Vrindavan, of course, it is very intimate because no one is aware that Krishna is God. So the relationship in these rasas is very, very strong. In Dwarka, then, there is an awareness that Krishna is God. So we know that Rukmini understands that Krishna is Supreme Lord, and she praises them in that way. The Brahmana who comes understands the Supreme Lord. So they have this awareness of the Supreme Lord. And then contrary to that, we have people like Rukmi and Shishupala and Jarasandha. Even though people are saying this is Krishna's Supreme Lord, and then so what? Doesn't matter. What is Supreme Lord? Nothing. They don't believe in the Supreme Lord at all. And Krishna may be called Supreme Lord, but they don't believe that he is in any way superior to anybody else. So they don't appreciate his qualities, they don't appreciate the beauty of his form, they don't appreciate his power. And that is why they try to fight with him. Because they think he's an ordinary human being that's got some power by punya or something, that's all. But then the devotees, like Rukmini, naturally she has this great reverence and respect and attachment for Krishna. So the devotees have exclusive attachment for a Supreme Lord, and they serve him there. And Rukmini is an ideal example of that. Though she is aware that he is Supreme Lord at the same time, very, very great attachment is there in her relationship.
Once we see this Brahmana, you are saying the Brahmana is aware that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. But nowadays it is very difficult to accept someone, that when we see the Supreme Lord is in front of me and getting service from the Supreme Lord, like he's explained the verse that Krishna worship Brahmana like he used to get worship from the demigods. Normally it is very difficult to accept this. Now how can he take service from Krishna in the same way?
That we see even happens. Narada Muni comes to Dwarka, and then Krishna puts him on his couch and he washes his feet and he serves him and whatever like that. Or Sudava Brahmana comes, and then everyone is shocked because he's so poorly dressed, but then Krishna favors him and tells all the queens to serve him, etc. like this and whatever. So it's also natural that people would expect Krishna, even though he is Supreme Lord, because he is also the king. These are natural activities. And he is the ideal king as well. So therefore, they're not surprised when he does activities like this, that he's doing this, because he's acting in an ideal way, setting an example as a great king. So they have no problem with that.
So is it connected to like a sweetness or opulence, like we say Oishwarya? Because when you say Oishwarya means he's a king.
Yeah.
And when he says a sweetness, means he's the object of love.
Yeah, well, of course, Aishwarya acts, when we talk about Aishwarya within Krishna, it's within the idea that there is prema, etc. So the devotee recognizes him as Supreme Lord, simultaneously there is an affectionate relationship. So it's not there's no affection, but there is this trace of with the understanding that he is Supreme Lord, so it restricts the affections to some degree, as with Vasudeva and Devaki. They're not so spontaneous as Nanda and Yasoda. So there's some restriction there, but it's still the affection is there. And if it's in Vaikuntha, even with Vishnu, still, obviously prema is there. So there is love there, but there even the grandeur is even more, and the respect is even more. And there's only dasya there also, so it's more restricted yet. But the idea that he has been Supreme Lord contributes also to their type of affection, their affection to him because he is so powerful, and in other words, they're attracted to that aspect of the Lord and where he shows his power.
And the question you are saying, the man is this, like Rukmini, he accepted Krishna as a husband, and she wants to serve only Krishna. Because of this only, she wants to accept Krishna as a husband. So in the material we see sometimes devotees out of I cannot say as ignorance, or sometimes they are concentrated on the guru, or they didn't get that much priority to the Krishna. Because few years ago I got one devotee wrote, how you are serving the Krishna. He said, I give dakshina to my guru. That is the way to serve. But sometimes they neglect the Krishna. So how to see these things? How to balance these things?
Not serving.
Sometimes they want to serve only guru, not the Krishna.
Well, we cannot separate the two things, ultimately. If you're only going to serve Guru, then there's a mistake there. Just as we could say, you cannot only serve Lord Chaitanya. You have to serve Krishna also. You can't separate the two. We only serve the devotees, we're going to ignore Krishna. Well, that also doesn't work. So the devotees are representatives of Krishna, so therefore we're serving them because they represent the Lord. So though we do serve Guru, we have to serve the Lord also. We cannot ignore that. If we do, then it's like worship only the Guru. This is there's an Upper Sampradaya, they worship only the Guru. Many Sampradayas like that.
They are in the Bengal.
So that's not the proper thing. Because what does Guru do? He gives an order, worship Krishna. So we ignore that order, then how are we serving Guru?
That means they are disobeying the orders of the Guru.
Yeah. So then how are they serving? So serving Guru is follow his order, and he says worship the Lord. So worship the Lord.
Yeah.